Hey, 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 it's Rebecca, and you are listening to Resilient by Design. Whew, I'm really excited about today's episode because I just got home from High Point Market with three beautiful designers room members, beautiful humans, and I just decided it would be really fun to get them on the podcast to talk about our experience and do a little kind of debrief because we kind of all went our separate ways on the last day, and I just thought it'd be really fun to have that debrief for all of you because we learned a lot. High Point was a success, but there's a lot of takeaways. So today's episode is part one of a two-part podcast because we talked for a really long time. So I thought I would break it up. This is the first part where we talk about the logistics. Why should you go to High Point? Is it worth it? How do you coordinate High Point? Should you bring your client? What were the big kind of tips and tricks for while you're there? And then part two, which is going to come at a later date, is all about the trends that we saw, the showrooms that are the must-sees. But today is all about logistics. I think it's a super helpful conversation. I would love to know if you've been to High Point. Join us inside our designers meetups Facebook group because we can have that conversation. We can continue this conversation inside that group. Again, these ladies are all members of our designers room community, which is a monthly membership that is available to our past students. So those who have done Power of Process, because I know I get a lot of questions. They're like, oh my gosh, how do I join this community? It is a closed community that is only offered twice a year to the alumni of Power of Process. So if you've done POP, you can join us. If you haven't, you can join us for POP coming around in 2023. But I hope you guys enjoyed this conversation. Get a pen because you're going to want to take notes. This is a good episode. All right. I'm Rebecca Hay, and I've built a successful interior design business by trial and error, podcasts, online courses, and so many freaking books. Over the last decade, I've grown from an insecure student to having false starts to careers, and now I'm finally in the place where I want to be. Throughout my journey, it's been pretty obvious that I'm passionate about business and helping other entrepreneurs do the same. Each week, I'll share tangible takeaways from my own experience and the experiences of other badass women to help you build your confidence and change your business. All right, we are live. We're just going to dive right in and talk all things High Point. I have Jocelyn here. I have Jennifer, and Laura is just rebooting her computer, and she's going to be back with us. I don't know. Do you guys want to just maybe take a quick second and briefly introduce yourself for those who don't know who you are?
Sure. Jocelyn, you go first.
All right. So first, my voice is almost gone. So I will say this very quickly. I am Jocelyn Polce from August Oliver Interiors. We are Connecticut based, and we specialize in full service design, turnkey experiences that are centered around our clients and telling their stories.
Very good. I'm Jennifer Moorhead, and I'm Jennifer Moorhead Interiors, and I'm based in New York City, New Jersey area. And I'm also residential. I work with a lot of busy families. That seems to be who comes to me over and over again. And I'm also full service. And yeah.
Yay. And I know both of you ladies as well as Laura because you have all gone through Power of Process. You are alumni and ambassadors, and we're so grateful for it. And also, you are inside Designer's Room. That's what makes you kind of stand apart from the rest, is I get to see your lovely faces every single month, twice a month, inside Designer's Room, where we really kind of get to support each other and share. And I love it. And that's sort of how we all decided, let's meet at High Point, right?
Yes.
But it was kind of we didn't plan, just for anyone listening, this wasn't like a planned trip, let's travel together. It was a few of us saying, hey, is anyone going to go to High Point? I was like, I'm thinking about it. And I think Jocelyn, you're like, I'd be interested in going. And then Laura was like, well, I'm going to go. And I'm like, well, we could fly down together because we're both going from Toronto. And then we were like, we're going to stay at this hotel. And then you guys booked the same hotel. And then we ended up meeting at the first night and hanging out every single day, Designers Room Posse the entire time.
Yes.
For better or for worse.
It was for better. It was the best.
For sure, for better.
Yeah, it was such a fun way to see High Point, and we'll get into that, but it was so fun to be able to like not do it alone, even though we were kind of on our own and we could do what we wanted individually. Like we didn't always travel as a group everywhere to every showroom, which I thought was kind of nice, right? You didn't feel like we had to do the same things. I don't know how you guys felt.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely felt, I went by myself last year, the first time I went, and definitely better with you guys this year. And I loved how we sort of got to like, do the highlights. And then if somebody had a particular showroom they wanted to go to, it was like, we kind of went our separate ways and then met up later. And yeah, I thought it worked really well.
Yeah, for me, for my first time going, I really felt like I was really overwhelmed. I think I was there for maybe 4 hours before I met up with Jennifer. And once I finally met up with her, I was like much more relaxed and excited as opposed to stressed and like worrying about where I'm going to go or what I'm going to do.
Yeah. Welcome, Laura. Welcome to the conversation. We just started recording and we're just chatting about how it was nice to kind of like be a group and not be a group, but maybe just introduce yourself since we just kind of dove right in while we were waiting for you there.
I know. I'm so sorry. I'm hoping that this is better, but of course, is it? Okay, great. So I'm Laura Thornton. I am the owner of Thornton Design located in Kleinburg, Ontario. And I had the pleasure of hanging out with all of you lovely ladies last week at High Point.
Yes, so fun. Thank you for coming. We were just saying it was nice to travel together, but we weren't like, there wasn't that pressure to like go everywhere as a group, which was kind of nice. It was nice to not be alone, but also be able to say, hey, I want to go to this showroom. I don't care if anybody else doesn't want to. I'm just going to go. Okay. So when we first chatted a little bit offline, we thought, okay, like there's so many takeaways and so much to talk about. And the whole point of doing today's kind of roundtable is I thought it'd be really interesting just to like candidly talk about our experience. The four of us haven't actually had a chance to really debrief or chat since we all parted ways on whatever day that was, the Monday. And so I don't know, let's start off with like, is High Point Market worth it as a designer? Would you go again? And why should you even go in the first place? Because I think Jocelyn mentioned she's had people ask her like, oh, do I even really need to go? Like, why would a designer go? I'm just going to put that question out there.
I had people ask me as well, other fellow designers that I know, they immediately said, oh, I can't wait to hear. And, would you go again? Was it worth it? And I thought it was absolutely worth it. I hadn't gone before either. We had plans to go in 2020, and then that obviously fell apart with the pandemic. And so it was very exciting to go and to see. And further to Jocelyn's point, it can be and was overwhelming at first until we got the lay of the land. And by kind of going together, like there were showrooms that Jen knew of that I'd never heard of and were so inspiring to see. And whether or not we can access the ability to purchase from them, it was still nice to see the trends and how that was fluid through every showroom we went to, whether it was value engineered, mid to high end. It was kind of an ability to see a lot more, open up your mind to a lot more and see what's coming in for trends moving into 2023.
Yeah, I would agree with all of that. I think I would definitely go again. It's so worth it. From an inspiration standpoint, it's incredible. From and the ability to sit and try, 10,000 sit tests. You can try everything out. And to me, I like to feel super confident in what I'm proposing to clients. So that is just invaluable to me.
And then for me, I think being able to be exposed to all these different lines and brands and companies, like it just allows me to provide my clients with like the exact right piece for them and for their budget and for their family. And so that was really exciting for me to see. Maybe I wouldn't have specified something from one of the showrooms because I had never been there or didn't know about them. And so now like my clients will be getting a much better and more exciting design because I've been exposed to things that I wasn't exposed to like around my little neighborhood. So that's exciting for me.
Yeah. And I would add that like, I think that I probably could have done this a lot earlier in my career. I think what it was is I was a little intimidated And I felt like I needed to be a certain size before going to High Point Market. I needed to be able to set up appointments with vendors. So I like that you guys said that sometimes, like even Laura, like regardless of if you can order directly from the wholesaler, it's really helpful to just get inspired and see things that, I mean, let's be honest, Laura and I, we talked about this, like in Canada, we don't have the same access. And so a lot of what we see, we're taking pictures of so that we can be inspired by that design and have someone make it similar or slightly different here at home from a custom house. I don't think it's bad to say that because we just don't have, we're not going to copy a design and say, make this exact thing, but maybe we see like, oh, look at that upholstered leg. Like my upholsterer could do that here, right? So it's not always about finding vendors you're going to buy from.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really.
That also allowed us to see so many more showrooms because Jennifer and Jocelyn were aware of more vendors. So it gave us the eye-opening experience too.
Yeah.
And I think, Rebecca, to your point about doing this earlier in your career, I actually wish I would have gone sooner because it was really incredible to meet these different reps for the lines and to really learn about what the difference between like the retail places that a lot of times you start sourcing when you're an early beginning designer and like seeing how much more elevated your designs can be by actually learning about these lines and seeing the quality and the differences. So that was really exciting. I wish I would have done this much sooner. I think sourcing would have been easier and a lot less time consuming than early on in my career.
I remember designers saying to me like, oh, well, it's the Hudson Valley light, or don't you know Bernhardt, or it's this, like they would name drop vendors. And I remember as a baby designer thinking, how do I not know these companies? Like I didn't know. And so I was almost more intimidated. But then when I went to High Point, it's like, oh, now I understand. So even if I'm still buying through a local realtor, no, they don't sell lights and furniture, retailer, I can say to my rep, hey, I know you carry Hudson Valley. I noticed you don't have this chandelier in your showroom or on your website. Can you order it for me? And more often than not, they say yes. So it really does broaden your ability, to your point, Jocelyn, to source and specify and be a lot quicker at it.
And also, like, I know Jen and I, when we went to one of the lighting showrooms, we were like obsessing over this aged brass finish. And like, it's really hard to find something online and like really get a feel for what that looks like. And so when we were in there, we were just like, oh my God, this aged brass is like not comparable to anything else. And I think that's something that you wouldn't know until you touched it. And I sat in about 850 swivel chairs and Laura gave me so much schooling on the cushion types. And like, I feel like I learned so much just being with another group of designers too, going through. So.
Yeah. Oh my God. I love that. Would you ever bring your client to High Point?
Never.
You know how I feel about that. What do you guys want to say about that?
No, definitely not.
No, it's not for me.
Why?
That's a lot of togetherness.
Yeah.
There's that aspect.
A lot of togetherness.
I mean, if it's overwhelming for us, like I can't imagine.
Right.
I don't think my clients would want to go and spend even a day doing the walking and the sitting. Like, I think it would be so confusing and really, I don't know. I can't imagine doing it with one of my clients.
Well, and that's why they hire us. We pare it all down to give them the right options. We go and do that's all out of pocket for all of us. We all went to do this to be better designers and be better for our clients. And so that's what we do to get them a better design and a better product. So we've done the research. That's why they hire us. They don't have to go and be overwhelmed. Like I've never been overwhelmed by design. You walk in, you can do a million projects at one time in a retail space. But on day 4 of my point, I was like, that's it. I'm checking out. Like I'm done. Like I am done. So I can see that a client would just glaze over after 20 minutes. Like we probably covered a quarter of what High Point had to offer.
Yeah.
And that was all day Friday, all day Saturday, all day Sunday, all day Monday, like a quarter. Like we didn't even touch it.
I mean, I feel like if my toe wasn't broken, I could have definitely covered more ground.
No one knew your toe was broken but you. You were a trooper.
I was committed, very committed.
I think I said like, oh, my feet are sore from yesterday. And Jocelyn, you were like, how are her feet sore? She obviously doesn't walk. I have a broken toe and I'm fine.
But I have to say, like, the shuttles were so awesome.
Yeah.
And like the second day for me, I thought was so amazing because we picked a building and we did the building from top to bottom. And when I go back, because I definitely want to go back in April, I think taking that approach, I think is key, especially if you're new and you're just starting out and you've never been. Pick a building, then go down and then do the rest of the area once you're done with that building.
Yeah.
That's what I would do too. And I think you'd go faster, right? You'd know, you kind of, how much new can it be? I think we would move at a much faster pace and be able to cover more. That was our approach on the day Jocelyn and I did it together. We're like, let's just power through. Now we were there for hours is an understatement, but yeah, it was definitely the way to go.
Yeah. And I would say, just to quickly add to what we were talking about before about bringing a client, a lot of people, I'll have clients or other people say like, oh, that looks like so much fun. And it is fun, but it is work. I mean, it's a lot of work to go and, go to every showroom, learn all the things, walk everywhere. I don't know that a client would really, at least mine, would not enjoy that. So I just want to put that out there too.
Yeah. I love that you said that, Jennifer. Like it's freaking work. Like, yes, you're on your feet, and yes, I should be walking more every day to prepare myself, because it's a lot of walking, and actually more than walking, it's a lot of standing. It's a lot of standing in showrooms with concrete floors, which can be very draining. And you're right, it is work. Like literally when I finished, I'm like, I'm taking a few days off because I just worked through the weekend and I want to take some me time, and I went and I traveled. But you're right, it's social, but by the end of the day, like, I don't know about you guys, like at the end of every single day, I was like, oh my God, I feel like that was 3 days in one.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I went back to the room too, like I recapped my day and like wrote notes from each of the vendors so that way I wouldn't forget, because it was a lot. So like my notes screen in my phone, I have one for like each of the days. So I have like my daily recaps. So,
oh my God, can you share that with us? Because I didn't do that.
Yeah, I know you had to do that, because otherwise I can't remember half of them now, but I took a picture before I walked into, so I had a different
that's a
process, if you will, no pun intended here, but I had a different process, but I took a picture before we walked into every space, whether it be a showroom or, whatever we were doing. And then that way I can go back and reference it. But now each day is a wash. I couldn't tell you what day was which because it was just such a big run-on sentence. Yeah.
I definitely
that's a really good tip.
If I was going to give one really important tip to someone who's never been, think about food. Where are you going to eat? Because you cannot absorb any information if you are starving to death. And I feel like that happened to me day 4 for lunchtime. Like, you got to pack a snack or you got to be prepared to not skip breakfast. Because that was...
You're stealing the props off of the tangerines out of the bowls. And
those were so good. I think I had 3 of them and I would have died if I didn't.
They were really good. They were very juicy.
Good. Yeah.
My kids would like these. Yeah, I think those are 2 really good tips. The first one is, I love that. Take a photo of the signage outside of the showroom before you walk in, so that when you look at your literally hundreds of photos, you can see, okay, I took a picture of 4 hands. Now every picture after that is in the 4-hand showroom. And then when you go rogue, like I did, and you take random pictures as you're walking down the hallway, you're like, oh, look how cute that table is. I look back at the picture, I'm like, where the heck was that table? It was definitely not from 4 hands. And it's hard. You think you're going to remember, but you don't.
Another thing too is just to sort of take a few minutes to sort everything into folders within your photos, and just label them quickly. Like you can do it by day or showroom, or even if you want to be really crazy, you can do like lamps and case goods and all that. But just a way because it's so many photos, it's crazy.
Yeah, some people I've heard will use different platforms. Like one person who I know from Toronto, she uses Evernote and she'll tag. She uses like the tag function, and she'll do tag by showroom. She'll tag by what it is, like lamp, furniture, upholstered goods, that type of thing. I mean, take this with a grain of salt if you're listening, because you can do as much categorizing or as little as you want. You have to think about what's important to you. So for me, I'm probably not going to go to some of those vendors and order directly. So that's less important than, okay, is it a lamp? Is it, you have to, I think about because I did not spend as much time organizing, I think, as you guys did, though I do have over 600 pictures because I put them into a photo stream and it tells you.
I think the next tip too, you need backup batteries for your iPhone or whatever phone. I had one, I was using Laura's by halfway through the day. Like my battery was dead by like lunchtime. I was taking so many photos and videos too. And if you're getting like social media content, like, and you're taking more videos, your phone goes so quickly. And I have a new iPhone and it still was dying.
Yeah.
Well, that's because you were taking videos on every swivel chair.
Yes, that's so true.
So that would drain your battery. I can't wait. Have you posted that reel yet?
I haven't yet. I haven't been on social media since because I was posting each day in stories and I was like, I need a break from everything. And then I got back and projects have been going on. So I'm trying to get back in the swing of it.
All right. Well, everyone pay attention to Jocelyn's account because there's a good reel coming at you soon.
Yes. Lots of spinning.
Yeah.
So what else can we share about High Point? These are really good tips and tricks. But what about for someone who's like never gone? I feel like we could talk a little bit about the hotel logistics, like where we stayed. Would you stay there again? Talk about the shuttles, because that can be kind of daunting in and of itself. Like, I don't know, where do you even stay? How do you decide that?
I felt like ours was a little bit far away. We stayed in Greensboro. I love that they had the shuttles in the morning. That was amazing. But I would have loved to go back to the hotel for midday, take a quick breather, change for like the evening events, because there are events every night. I think it would have just helped sort of rejuvenate. If I could go back at like 2:30, do a quick change or just sit down for 3 seconds, I think I would have been, I don't know.
I don't think there's any hotels near, like literally.
Really?
They're all, the last time I stayed in a different town and it was a half an hour shuttle.
Yeah.
And there was only morning and evening shuttles.
Oh, wow.
I did get a hot tip from my Uber driver on the way home. I don't know how real this is, but so apparently High Point University has a hotel on the campus and it's much closer to High Point because we stayed in Greensboro, but High Point University is actually in High Point. So supposedly that gets booked out like years in advance, but I would look into that next time.
And as long as you don't
they have like more.
Right.
Yes. But I think there are also potentially better restaurants around there. I don't know.
I think I'd also do what you did, Jennifer, and Laura, you did the same thing. You guys had a short list of showrooms you wanted to go and check out. I just came in blind. I had all these plans that I was going to like on the plane, figure it out. And then I didn't. I was just enjoying the quiet of the airplane. So I didn't do any work. And so when I got there, I was definitely like, I thought I could walk from the hotel, which was not the case. We weren't even close. It was like 17 miles, maybe further. I had no clue. So like, you definitely need to do a little bit more research than I did. If I had like a short list, it would have been great. But luckily Jennifer was there right after I was, and we have very similar like aesthetics for what showrooms we wanted to see. So that was really helpful. But I'll definitely have a short list next time.
Yeah, short list is a good idea, I think. But back to the hotels, most, like, just for anyone who's listening, mostly anywhere you're going to stay, you will need to take a shuttle. The shortest shuttle I've heard of is like 20 minutes. Because it's basically High Point is in this little bubble. Like, sure, there's High Point University and that's worth checking out. But I think even in High Point town itself, there's not a lot of restaurants. Like, it kind of comes to life twice a year during market. And so from my understanding, there's like Winston-Salem, there's Raleigh, there's Greensboro. Those are kind of the areas where the hotels are. And then they have prearranged shuttles that go 2 or 3 times in the morning, and they bring you back 2 or 3 times at the end of the day. So in general, if you're planning to go, you need to know that like you're in it to win it for the entire day. Like, bring comfortable shoes, and you're not likely going to change your outfit for an evening affair unless you're doing something close to your hotel.
I might still make it happen.
And you can rent a car. The parking is free. You can rent a car if it's advantageous to your budget. We just, again, we didn't know how easy it would be to park because it is so large, and you basically would take whatever parking spot you can get. And then it just adds more steps onto a day. In this scenario, we didn't know how many extra steps it was going to create, but if you were going early enough, you could also rent a car, and then you can bring your extra shoes, bring your extra outfits. but there isn't anything around. So Rebecca and I, even considering we booked months ago, we were still late to the party when we picked our hotel location in Greensboro. And it literally was almost default with A, what was left, and B, where we felt like we had the amenities that we wanted, which included a restaurant on site, because Rebecca had gone in the past and there wasn't anywhere to eat. And now that we've figured it out a little bit, I still think that would be a priority, would be to have a restaurant in-house. Just because you are not there, like you need something in the morning to get going, and you need something on the back end. Like we ate Friday when we landed, and then we didn't have another meal, Rebecca and I, until Monday night. I was like, how are we even functioning? There was some drinks. Like that was what we were living on, like the free champagne in the afternoon, like that substance, which is not super healthy.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that. The free flowing alcohol.
Yeah.
Who wants to talk about that?
Yeah.
I've got nothing to say.
Jocelyn totally abstained the entire trip.
Yeah.
I did not have any drinks. I was totally under control.
Well, if you knew where to go, you technically would not need to spend a cent once you get there. If you had any showroom in the morning will have a coffee, and they will have, like everywhere had little packets of nuts and snacks and treats, and but if you have an allergy, you need to come prepared. Like you need to come with whatever you need to get through the day. Other than that, you really wouldn't need to spend a cent once you arrive. Yeah. You could eat, you get shuttled. Like really, other than getting to and from the airport, that would be the cost of your trip.
Yeah, I definitely think and there's also food trucks in the central location, which I think is great. I got a smoothie there almost every morning, which I think helped me survive the whole day. So I think planning out your breakfast for sure, and where you're going to have lunch, I think is key.
Yeah,
our hotel everyone at that hotel was going to the show. So everybody was ordering room service. It was an hour and a half wait for room service. So if you weren't on your game, you were out of luck.
Yeah. Yeah. And even coming off the shuttle, everyone on that shuttle was then, but one thing, so we all had the app, right? Did you guys all have so the first day, Jocelyn and I kind of went through it, and we were like, okay, what panel discuss, like where is food? Who's serving breakfast? Who's serving lunch? And we wanted to go to the showrooms anyway, but it was sort of helpful to kind of plot out the day of where, that's one way to do it too.
Yeah. And I think we haven't mentioned that it's more than just snacks. So there are some showrooms that will have a full breakfast spread. I didn't find any of those. I think I kind of missed the breakfast, but I noticed on the app, there were quite a few of them, like come have breakfast. And there were tons of lunch spreads. Like some of them were nicer and better than others. Some of the bigger showrooms are more likely to have those meals than the small, like mom and pop shops. And then no one really has dinner, but then if you can get into one of those, and when I say get in, that's air quotes, just have to show up. There's none of this, you need to be on the list. I thought I had to be on. I was like, guys, I got your names on a list. And then we got to the party and it's like, come on in. Anybody's welcome. I'm like, oh, so much for the list.
Yeah, it was definitely.
You can eat.
I thought the same thing. I thought I'd have to RSVP to a lot of the events for the speakers or the panels. And you didn't actually have to RSVP for anything.
And I don't know if that's just a post-pandemic thing, that it wasn't as busy, or is the RSVP just literally a way for them to get you on their email list? That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah,
I think people were tired. Their feet wouldn't make it. They went back. It was a long day. That day we did that. That was from 8 a.m. until we got back at 10 or 11 that night. That was a long day. And then on our feet, literally all day.
Yeah. And then in swivel chairs the next day.
Yeah. As many as we could get in.
Sit test day.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I think the other thing, I had a lot of anxiety about the shuttle from the airport and to the airport because I didn't rent a car from the airport. So it was super easy. I checked my bags that last day. They stored them for the whole day. I spent the entire day, picked them up, and then hopped on the shuttle to the airport. I was to the airport early. I didn't have to stress about driving. It was super simple.
And if I had known that, I would have flown out the night before instead of getting up at 2:45 the next morning. It really is very well run. people zipping around on scooters asking if you know where you're going in the streets. Like, it is really operated well. Like, they work hard to make it easy for you. And once you get there, you really see that it's much easier than it appears when you're trying to figure it out on a pamphlet or on a website.
Yeah. And the shuttles are all free. Like, the airport shuttle is absolutely free. Like, I think that's amazing. I didn't even realize that till this trip, actually. I think that's, and also Jocelyn mentioned that she was able to store her bag. Like, there's literally like a coat check at the main building in Market. I don't know, I'm going to call it Market Square. That's not the right name. Right by where the buses go. And you could arrive from the airport and check your luggage there and then take it to your airport to your hotel, and vice versa. Like, you that day had your stuff packed. We all took the 9 a.m. shuttle, and you just checked your suitcase and your carry-on. And then when it was time for you to go to the airport, you just went, got your suitcase, hopped on the airport shuttle bus. We like waved goodbye, and it seemed completely seamless.
Definitely. Also, it was cold in the mornings, so we had a lot of extra coats on. I wish I would have used the coat check that first day, because I was carrying all this stuff in the showrooms. It was such a pain. But being able to check something midday if you don't need it was amazing too.
Well, yeah, we ran into my cousin on that first night, and I was like, why are you wearing high heels? Like, that she was, and my other cousin was wearing like these cute slides. I'm like, are those comfortable? And they were like, girl, this isn't our first rodeo. We checked our shoes this morning in a bag so that we could change for the evening event. And I'm like, whoa, I would never have thought to do that.
All right, that's what I'll do next year.
Yeah. From one pair of Rothy's by day, then change to the Rothy's by night. For those who don't know, you will know if you follow Jocelyn on Instagram, but she loves her Rothy's, which I also love, but she always posts beautiful pictures of her feet wearing them. You should be an ambassador. This is not an ad, though we are open to sponsorship.
Please.
What else? I want to talk about trends, but anything else just generally about High Point that you didn't expect that surprised you?
It's not that I didn't expect this, but I learned it. I do like going to some of the panels. You don't have to go to all of them, but if there's something you do want to go to, you must get there early, or you will be not in the same room, because they get really, especially the good ones, they get really crowded. And so I would just, when you're planning that out for yourself too, just know that you should probably get there early. And
even if you RSVP'd, even though, maybe they could enforce RSVPs more, and then you would actually have a seat.
Yeah, totally. I went to the Luann Nigara birthday party, and when I first got there was like a lineup outside. I was like, hell's no. Like, I am not, if I have to line up for something, I'm not staying, because I don't like lineups. But then I kind of walked around, and I could see that there was an opportunity. I could just kind of walk right in, but there were a ton of people, and I did not show up early. So that's a really good point. And also that app that we mentioned before, it's amazing. I don't remember them having this app when I was at High Point in the past. So maybe it's a new thing, or I just didn't know about it. But you can kind of go through and you can favorite. Like, it's a really well done app, I think. You can favorite, little star, just the talks that interest you, like non-committal, and it'll filter them. So then you can kind of look and see your favorites, and then you can decide, okay, I want to go to this one tomorrow. I hope I can make it to that one. And if you don't make it, it's no big deal. Like, it's super cash.
I was surprised how many people that were there, especially in the main buildings where there's multiple floors, like the 12 floors, 6th floor, so many people in those areas. And yet everyone was saying it was a slow market. So I cannot imagine the scale of it when it goes back into full swing, or even pre-pandemic. It'll just be that much busier. So that is probably, I'm sure you'll have to RSVP, because everyone was saying, oh no, it's not a busy market. And meanwhile, you couldn't get an elevator. Yeah. You had to wait in line for some bathrooms. I would have thought the bathrooms would have been worse with seeing so many women were there, but it wasn't. And they were constantly being cleaned, which was mint. But I was just shocked how many people were still present in some of those larger buildings.
Yeah.
I think in the morning before they get super busy.
I think some advice for like baby designers, if that's what we're calling them, being able to know that you can go into any of the showrooms, even if you didn't book an appointment. I thought I wouldn't be able to just walk in anywhere. everyone says like appointments are encouraged. But I think if you're just going in to look around and familiarize yourself, you don't necessarily have to meet with your rep and we have like go on this 45-minute journey through every product that they have. So don't be afraid or nervous about just walking in the door and telling them that you just want to look around. Laura, I feel like you were like amazing at that. You just walked in.
There was some value in walking into some places and saying, we don't have an appointment, you walk in. They want you to come in and walk around and learn about them. But what they do is when you're scanned in by your badge, they automatically send out a text to whoever is your rep, and wherever that tends to be, they come find you. So whether you want to talk to them or not, they come find you. And if they hadn't, there was multiple places where we learned a plethora of information that was of value, to the point where now I'm going to open those accounts because of certain things that I wouldn't have learned just walking around. But they came to find us and talk to us. It was a game changer. I was like, oh my God, I love that. Okay, great. So now we need to connect when we get back to Toronto, and we'll figure out how to start using your product. So I know it's sometimes hard. You don't want to talk to a rep, or you feel like like we're calling them baby designers, you don't feel like you have the verbiage, but I would take advantage of that time for them to teach you. That's what they're there to do. And then you can learn a little bit more about each thing.
Yeah. I think the point is too, like, you can decide if you want that or don't want that. That's the best part. Like, it's really up to you.
Yeah.
And what you have time for.
A couple of them, like, come back. They wanted to teach us more. We're like, we got to go on to the next one. Yeah. But we learned a lot.
Jocelyn, the one that you and I went to that I had the appointment at, I don't think they would have let us in.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a couple.
That one was like, do you have an appointment?
Yeah. Right.
I did, but
well, I think that one gets really busy too. Like people all want to go. Yeah, you're right. That was made goods.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't make it to that one.
Right.
Dang it. Gotta go back. Yeah. I think there were a few showrooms that I saw. Yeah. April. There was like some signs that said by appointment only. And so it's super clear. I feel like if it doesn't say it, most of the time you can walk through.
Well, you can still ask. You can still say, I know I don't have an appointment. Is my rep around? Can I come back? Like if it's really one you really want to see.
Totally. And come back like the next day or later that afternoon. But some of the reps, I wrote a blog post, because I don't write a lot of blog posts, but I'm like, I have all this information in my head. I need to put it on paper. So while Chris and I were driving to Charleston, I was in my phone, like blogging, like all the things that I felt were like useful tips and tricks. So that'll come out at some point. But a lot of what we've said is in there. But one of the things I commented on was how persistent some of the reps are. And like, don't let that throw you off. Like you can be like Laura and say, like, I just want to look around, like, thank you, I'll come find you, because it can be a little off-putting. And I know that especially if you're there on your own, you go in and there were a couple times where they just like met me at the door and you guys had already gone in. I was like, I want to walk with them. I don't want to be stuck here with you. Like some reps are useful and some are not as useful. And so it's okay to say, I will come find you if I need you. Yeah.
And I also think it's like, as a new person going, I feel like you don't have to be intimidated, because there is no way to tell when you're all at High Point who the different designers are, who's more well-known than you, who charges more, you know what I mean? Like it's like a level playing field when you're out there. And I was like, so nervous to go and just be like, oh, this Connecticut designer, like nobody knows me. But that's not how it is at all. So if you're new to the business, like, don't worry about that. It's silly. Like, just go. You're just as important.
It's true.
Yeah. And designers are super friendly. I found like on the days that I took buses on my own, or like I wasn't sitting with one of you, most of the time you can strike up a conversation with the person sitting next to you. I met a lot of designers who were just traveling on their own. And people are super friendly.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's kind of fun to hear everyone around you talking about things that you care about and know about. That's kind of like a fun thing too, that like, what they're talking about because it happens to you. And, I don't know, it's kind of a nice feeling. Community.
Yeah. I remember being on the bus and overhearing there was like these designers across and back from me. And the one designer has her cell phone out and she's like, yeah. And then I think I'm going to do this light fixture here, but I'm so frustrated because the contractor, like he hung it and I wasn't there and it's not there. And I'm like, oh, everyone experiences the same problems. Totally.
Yep.
All right. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I had to stop recording and then finish recording the second part for another episode because we just had so much to talk about and I didn't want these episodes to be too long. So stay tuned for part 2, which will be all about the trends and the vendor highlights, our favorite showrooms, and just some final takeaways. So that's going to be in a separate episode. I would love to know what about this episode was helpful for you. So drop us a note inside the Designer Meetups Facebook group. I've actually wished I had this type of information before I went for the first time. So I hope this helps anyone planning to go to market in the future. And thank you so much to Jocelyn, Jennifer, and Laura, not only for joining me today for the podcast, but especially for joining me at High Point and making it so much fun. It's made me almost want to organize a trip there. I don't know. Let me know if you'd be into that. I could maybe do something in the future. Okay, that's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this episode.